Welcome to today's video. We're going to dive into the double-slit experiment by Thomas Young in 1801 and then expanded upon by Niels Bohr and Heisenberg in 1920s, and really wrap our head around this so that we can build more evidence and more belief system in understanding our quantum abilities. So let's dive in. The double-slit experiment, I'm going to do a drawing on here for you all, had a photon ejector right here and two boards. One board that had two slits, these are the slits, and then a second board or screen to catch, this is screen to catch how when they launched these particles through these slits, how they were going to show up on the other side. And so when they just did the experiment and they had no observer in the room, and they went ahead and launched these light particles, these photons, what happens is they actually turned into waves instead of actual particles. And when they got to the slits, those waves went through, and kind of how when you see like a pond and you drop a pebble, or you've got a dam and you are squeezing the water through that dam hole, the waves came out like this, and then they interfered with each other, and some were constructive interference when two high waves, crossed over each other. They would particleize, and when a low trow and a high arch would come up to each other, they would cancel each other out, which would be destructive interference. And so on the board, on the screen, on the second screen, what happened is there would be like these empty areas, and then a bunch of different particles landed, not in two places, but in many places across the screen. So this was just like, what's going on? What happened? Why wasn't it just particles of light literally landing on the other side? Now, when they added in an observer or a camera, and they had the screen with the two slits, in the screen to catch the photon light particles. When the observer was in the room, some of the particles would go through one of the slits, and some of them would actually go to the other and land on the screen, depending on where that wave collapsed on itself to create a particle. Because the wave collapsed and actual particles were seen traveling through the two slits and landing on the other side onto the screen. And because of multiple probabilities and, the frequency of the, being who was observing, some of those particles, let's say, went down on lower timelines out this slit, and some of them went up on higher timelines and collapsed and stacked up on the screen on this slit. So this is a powerful experiment to build evidence and to build your belief so that you understand, as an infinite projector of light from your pineal gland and your vibrations, your feelings that literally wave upon your projections to create the frequency of the light to stack up on itself and particleize your life and the way it is showing up. We understand that the observer is so important. Okay, so you are the observer. And how we are observing, meaning where is the majority of your thoughts and feelings, and can you find places in your life that you go really low or have unconscious, subconscious thoughts that are on autopilot that are having you think these unconscious thoughts that really are not necessarily something you want to keep going. So you want to re-memorize new material so that you're having higher probability of where the particles are landing on the screen. Now, looking at this experiment as well, we can also understand the power of this experiment by understanding that when things are not being observed, or let's say when we're in meditation and we've, let go of being in the identity, we're no body, no where, no place, we've expanded our awareness beyond the body into pure space, into ether, that we literally are behind our two eyes, everything is opening up from a particle, it's now opening up into a wave. And so that wave, which has an infinite amount of particles within it, so an infinite amount of probability, you know, the particles are literally in superposition. They're everywhere at once. Depending on when we actually do observe it, whether we're in a meditative, you know, practice of visualizing a blueprint and feeling as if, like literally seeing, you know, a seemingly future now or parallel now, where we're able to vision our best life, we're embodied, you know, we're wealthy, we're healthy. So that focus behind our two eyes is literally bringing this wave pattern into an actual, you know, blueprint of the best house, you know, the happy life, etc., the best money, etc. So you're literally creating an etherical blueprint. So it's super powerful to realize that this wave pattern, when we just get into neutrality and deep ease and grace and in a meditative space, we start to gather up our energy, our photonic light, our soul essence from, you know, the massive potential of the quantum field. And where we focus our blueprint, our thoughts, and our visions with our feelings and emotions, those neuropeptides from the thoughts that are creating these little emotional neuropeptides that are running through your body, bringing vibration to your light particles, to the ether at large, to space at large, is giving you the highest and best life, depending on if that's what you're focused on in your meditations, in your daily life. When you're driving, are you saying to yourself, you know, great things like, I love my life? Or are you catching wind of these low-level, you know, thoughts built into your subconscious that need to be uprooted? Are you catching into the community at large sadness? It's not to say it's bad to think these lower thoughts and feel these lower feelings. It's that you have to realize the power of the observer that you are is literally going to be projecting out onto the green screen of life that which you are focusing on. So we have to also say that, you know, in the wholeness of things, in the seemingly polarity of, you know, a dark night of the soul or a lower thought, lower feeling, is the outer shell of the eternal space of the quantum field of the wholeness of the positive of it. So the law of polarity and you know, in the Hermetic principles, you know, and the law of correspondence, what is within, what is without, what is positive, there's a negative. In the law of gender, there's always a feminine aspect and a masculine aspect. In the wholeness of things, it's not bad if you experience these low thoughts and feelings. It's just we want you to realize the power you have when you become aware. So that's the name of the game here. As an eternal soul, you're here, or I'm here to be awoke, to wake up to who I am and what I'm creating in my life and where I find myself experiencing the life. Is it in most joy or most dis-ease? Is it up? Is it down? Excuse me. You know, what is the sum total of your experiences? And yes, there will be time and place to experience, you know, a lower emotion and lower thoughts and move through them, right? We don't want to resist it. We want to become aware that it's there and make peace with it. And when we can find out why it's there or what was going on, especially at a conception point of like, why is this scene showing up here now? It reminds me of when I was 7 years old. By finding those conception moments in time, some other parallel now where it was misunderstood, there was not a lot of understanding, you can then find that moment in a past life or a parallel now, find out who, what, when, where, why, gather that understanding so that then you have more light literally comes back to you. We're not going to change this drawing just yet, but the light will come back to you, aka soul essence, so that you will have more power to project into your meditations, that you're blueprinting, you know, the highest and best life. You know, you happy. Okay, so that's a double slit experiment. We also talked a little bit about superposition when there's particles in many places at once. When a particle at different phases in many places at once, or also looked at, you know, like quantum entanglement, where two particles are entangled and everything is connected, and where one thing happens to one, it's also experienced and affecting the other particle that it's entangled with. And so we have a myriad of things that we're overlapping here, but we want you to start to realize the power you have when you start to understand this double slit experiment of everything is a wave until it is observed. And where you're focused on as the observer, how you're focused, meaning are you in a high vibration or a low consistently? Can you start to shift your feelings? Can you start to build in practices that bring you more joy, right? So exercise, you know, putting good food, etc., getting in the sunlight, you know, evoking feelings of joy by smiling more. Visualizing right when you're getting up in the morning and when you're going to bed, amazing scenes, and charging up those visions, those blueprints, those thoughts with powerful emotions of like, yes, you know, literally saying yes to yourself while you're visualizing things. So charge it up, like feel it to the depths of your body's sensations, the joy. You know, you may even like dance or vibrate the body. There's a lot of different things that you can literally viscerally do to help to charge up these thoughts and blueprints so that you build memory, right? Your subconscious mind, which is essentially connected to your body and your fascia, begins to memorize new memorized sensations and thoughts and visions. That way, when you are in a deep, you know, sleep, and then you get up the next day and you become the observer of the reality, you literally have more light to go ahead and plasma project out in front of you, stack up those light particles to have the best life. It will literally particleize a higher probability, a higher state, a higher parallel now, and a higher timeline. Okay, I hope this video assisted you. We look forward to sharing more with you on the eternal soul that you are. Please like this video, share it, subscribe most importantly, and help my videos get out further and farther by commenting below something that touched you. We hope you have a great day, and we'll see you in the next one.